Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today, I have the good fortune to be with Markus Neukom. Markus, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Seth. Great pleasure.
Us too. You are up to some cool things in the world, but let's go back in time a little bit. How did you get started?
So I got started was pretty much following my dad's footsteps in terms of business. He was in sales. I was always fascinated about his stories. So I thought that could be a good way to actually start my career. The one green thread, a red thread, which really goes through my career has always been people, has always been of service for people and helping people to develop either in careers or in their lives or in their business. So quite logically, I ended up to become an executive coach and a business consultant in the end. So
I'm sure the longer version of that story could probably be in a book somewhere if it isn't already.
Absolutely right.
So tell us a little bit about the type of work you're doing now.
Okay. So, when I came to the US, I was a business coach and an executive coach. And I realized it doesn't really help my clients so much because I realized there was one thing that was very evident. Either people were at the point where they said, is this it? Or the other one said, is there more? So then I realized the one category is actually suffering from, what is quite commonly known as imposter syndrome. And I realized imposter syndrome is not the problem. Imposter syndrome is a symptom of a much deeper problem, which I call and coin the authenticity struggle. And this is very literally put, you and I, we have no bloody clue who we are. If we knew who we are, we wouldn't doubt. So how can you trust something or someone who you don't know? You wouldn't. So what I do is I help my clients to understand themselves better, quite practically dissect and deconstruct their successes, which makes them totally believe, gosh, I do actually have what it takes. Now I can take my past experiences, put them together again and tackle whatever challenge there is. And the second category is people who have done it all, seen it all, and achieved it all. Give an example. Someone just sold a company, $500,000 on the bank account. Called me up crying. Guess why? No purpose. So I help the people who are very high achievers to get to the next level, which I coin a future defining leader, where it's all about legacy, where people realize it's not about me, not about my family, not about my tribe. It's actually so much bigger than even my country. And the coin, which I really came up with was, it's not about leaving a legacy behind one day when you die. Because, it's usually cash or it's an institution or it's a foundation. But it actually is about living your legacy on a daily basis. So when you pass over, you absolutely leave something behind, which is way beyond just cash. And that's where purpose comes into play. So it's purpose and legacy, which drives me daily.
That is absolutely incredible. Can you talk to us a little bit about how do we know if we're listening to this and we need you? How do we know, like, what is the problem or the feeling that someone would have that would cause them to raise their hand and say, I need Markus's gifts?
Okay, so let's talk about the pseudo imposter syndrome people first, right? So picture this, you have the glass ceiling, and people say, whatever I do, I can't break through it. Like here is here, and here's the next level. I simply can't break through that glass ceiling. So that's usually the thing where people say, oh, that's me. And the thing is literally, they're afraid of going through it because they do not believe they have what it takes, nor do they know what's coming here. And yeah, that can be frightening. And the thing is literally, is there more? That's usually the coded phrase, is there more? And I can tell you, Seth, whoever I worked with, they always had the thought, either in waking hours or in sleeping hours. They woke up at midnight, this can't be it. There must be more. So if somebody hears this can't be it, or is there more, that's usually where they say, oh, that's me.
This can't be it. There must be more.
Yeah.
And are is those are the pseudo imposter syndrome people, right?
Actually, both.
Both.
Because you know what's interesting? In the end, when someone works with me, it's not different than if somebody comes from an imposter syndrome angle, or if they come and say, there must be more to my life. Like I have it all, I done it all, and I achieved it all. So in the end, how I work with people is on purpose. Just a little bit of a different angle.
That makes a lot of sense. Who is an ideal client for this?
In terms of the imposter syndrome, it basically can be anyone who says, look, I just am done. Like one of my clients, he says, for example, I can't live one more day like this. Like he is very successful. In society's eyes, they would not even believe that he reached out to me to work with me because he has it. And the other one is someone who, for example, has sold their company or had an exit. And then now he says, now what? This can't be it. So there must be more. And as we know, Seth, especially in tech, those guys and gals, they actually are younger every single year. So they are 30, 35 millionaires, multimillionaires, and have no purpose. So I'm pretty sure when they hear this message, they recognize themselves pretty much.
Absolutely. What are some of the biggest misconceptions folks like that have about what you do?
So basically, what they're saying is they actually asked me a question like, what is the difference between a normal coach and you? The biggest difference is I was a business consultant and an executive coach, and I added stuff onto people, strategies, techniques, blah, blah, you know it yourself. And then I realized, gosh, it's actually them self identifying and self diagnosing their problem, and me as a consultant treating their diagnosis. What doctor would do that? No one. They would say, okay, Seth, calm down. Your diagnosis is nice, but let's do a diagnosing process now from a doctor's perspective. So this is what I'm doing. So what happens is when people come to me, they usually calm down quite quickly. And suddenly the actual problems become very evident. So that is the misconception that I'm a coach and a consultant who does what the client tells me to do. And I say, no, I'm actually furthest away from that. I am the doctor who, based on my experience and intuition, identifies the real issues. So I'll give you an example. If somebody comes to me and says, Markus, we have retention problems, what would I do? I help them with retention. And I suddenly realized, no, there's actually one person working in one department who is a very nasty person who needs help. Unless this person is being helped, the retention issues will remain the same. So I can teach, I can coach, I can train as long as I want to. There's no long lasting change. So I go very deep to the core cause instead of treating symptoms. So that's the biggest misconception. And when people meet me, they realize the Stillness Council, which I steward, they actually take away the noise. They help them to calm. They help them to take away everything that's not them. So they get to the core which really is them before the world defined who they really have to be in society.
That is fascinating. You talk a lot about in a number of the podcasts that you've been on, and a number of the things that you've published, you talk a lot about stillness. What does that mean to you?
Yes.
Why is it so
Okay.
important?
It's actually interesting. And let me continue with your question before in terms of misconceptions. So people tell me, okay, that is like meditation. And I said, no, because meditation is when you become silent. Huge difference between silence and stillness. So what it comes down to is silence is basically absence of action. Like when people meditate, there's no action. So stillness is coherence between my thoughts and my heart. And when these two are in coherence, that's when my soul actually can start talking to me. So that's when the actual issues, that's where purpose comes out. Where suddenly someone says, Markus, I've never shared that with you. But I went into career knowing this is not really me. And now I suddenly realize the more has always been waiting for me, for example. Or they say, you know what? If you ever shared that with anyone, that is when I know that's when their soul starts talking, quite often, actually, for the first time in their lives. So
Wow,
that is stillness, coherence.
that is
And it's
absolutely.
very important, Seth. Sorry that I interrupted you, but this is important. Stillness is not absence of action, but it's coherence in action.
That is beautiful. I think we could all use some
Thank you.
more stillness and coherence in our lives.
Agree.
For our folks who are resonating with what you're saying right now and want to learn more, where is the best place for us to send them?
LinkedIn. Literally connect with me on LinkedIn, Markus Neukom. I'm the only one there. You'll see my picture immediately. Connect with me, send me a message or send me a connection request. And I'd love to continue from there.
All right. Well, we greatly appreciate your time. We know it's incredibly valuable. Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
The best, always helping people to grow. And literally seeing people to return to their original design. Because, when we were born, we were basically put into a frame. And that only has little space to who Seth and Markus really are. And I help them to remove that frame and suddenly become free. And that's the most beautiful thing for me to experience.
That sounds amazing. Well, thank you, Markus, for joining us. If you look him up on LinkedIn, it is Markus with a K, and then Neukom is Neukom. This has been Seth Greene with Markus Neukom. Markus, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Seth.
Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.